Can I even remember how to do this? Welcome back to Drinking by My Shelf. My name is Emma and this is my annual tradition where I let my advent calendar choose what I read in December. I don't know if I'll be able to find my animation intro. Cheers! So it's been a while. It has been a full year since I last posted a video, which incidentally was this exact video. Confession, in April of this year, so I did my December video last year, that was my one-off coming back, and then in April I was really missing it and I actually sat down and watched some of my own old videos, and then I started filming and I started a vlog, and then I halfway through I realized that I just didn't want to do it, so I stopped. So I have all of this footage which hasn't gone anywhere and hasn't been used, which is kind of weird, but it shows that that urge is still there. I do still really like making videos. Quite a few of you have sent in questions of things that you want to know about what's been going on in my life over the last year, and so I'm going to answer those kind of throughout this video as we go along. But I'm just going to start. The number one most common question that I got was people asking how Hippo is, and so Hippo is fine. Hippo is here right now, actually. Hippo, come say hi. Hi, come here. No. Still just as camera shy as ever, but she's fine. She still lives with me half the time, so rest assured Hippo is still very happy and very in my life. Okay, let's dive into the rules of the game. The concept is simple. Every day I open my advent calendar, and based on the picture that is behind the window, I decide what to read. I don't actually do it every day. I do it every day that I need a new book. And a little word on my advent calendars, I say this every year, but just in case anyone is new here, I love picture advent calendars. I really, really love them. It's funny because as a child, we only ever had picture advent calendars. So we kind of grew up, we were only really allowed those ones. And actually they were always like the religious ones. They were always the nativity scene. It's fine, we don't do that anymore. But I kind of loved those until I was old enough to go to school, and then I realized that the other kids had like chocolate advent calendars, and now they have all sorts of crazy things in them, and I really, really wanted those. And it is funny to think how cross my childhood self would be to realize that now that I'm an adult and I can buy whatever advent calendar I want, I still choose the picture ones, because it turns out they were actually the best all along. So between me and Raf this year, we have 3 advent calendars. Last year we had 4, so we're slightly maturing. We have 3 advent calendars, 2 of them are picture ones, and then going against everything I just said, one of them is a Playmobil advent calendar. Last year we had the Playmobil Christmas Bakery. This year we have the Playmobil Christmas Ice Rink. So the main change that I'm going to make, because I rewatched my video from last year and I had some constructive criticism for myself. Last year I opened all 4 advent calendars and then chose which picture or thing to use as my prompt, but I've decided that was making it way too easy for myself, because between all 4 of them I would get a big range, and so there was lots of flexibility. So instead this year, every time I need a new prompt, I am going to be strict about which advent calendar I'm using. I'll rotate between them, and I have to use that advent calendar as a prompt. Okay, so there's no cheating. So I've already opened 2 of mine this morning that I'm not using. So I'm not using a dove prompt, which is lucky, because actually if you watched last year's video, I got a dove prompt and I kind of went nuts trying to find something. And I'm also not using a prompt that was a very cute little picture of someone walking their dog off to post a letter. So I'm not using any of that. I'm going to use the Playmobil Christmas Ice Rink as my first prompt. It is the 1st of December when I'm filming this, so I need to choose my first December read. Is that everything I need to say? Probably. A quick bit of context on the Playmobil Ice Rink is, having looked at the box, I think we're going to get some recurring characters. So last year I gave all of the Playmobiles that came out names. The mother was called Melinda, she was a baker. I think we're going to see her again. The children were called Charlie and really can't remember the girl's name. I want to say Gwen, but I also think that's wrong. Anyway, I think it's the same family. So just for context, they're having the same names. We're assuming that this is in the same Playmobil universe. Okay, inside door number 1. We have... Oh, it's Melinda. She's back for a 2nd year running. She's stuck inside the box. Melinda is back. Melinda is the town baker, but in today's activity, she's come to the ice rink with her best skates on, and she's going to have a little ice skate. Which means that for today's book, I need to read something either with a character called Melinda, which I think is unlikely I'm going to find. It's a shame I didn't call her Gerlinda, so I could have read Wicked, which I'd be interested to do. So I'm looking for a book about ice, skating, possibly a lake. I know I have Crow Lake and Tom Lake. Let's give Melinda her close-up. Look how good she is at skating. This is the TBR trolley. My books have migrated back to the trolley. They've been all over. They've been on the shelf, they're back on the trolley. Someone asked me, by the way, one of my catch-up questions was someone asked what my balancing the books number currently is, which I'm ashamed to say. I think when I last left you, I was doing so well on balancing my books and I was down to like 40 something on my TBR. Well, I just checked and we're currently at 184. So that's something that's changed since I stopped making videos. When I don't do balancing the books, they go completely wild. So this is the TBR trolley. I also have a Kindle. Should I show you my Kindle? It's pink. One second. This is my new Kindle and it's pink and it has a lot of unread books on here as well. So I can choose from anywhere on this trolley or anywhere on my Kindle, or to be honest, I can buy a book. I can do whatever I want. It's craziness. So I did pick Crow Lake by Mary Lawson to read. I checked, does it have like an ice skating on a lake scene? And it does, so it's perfect. And also, this is a book I've had on my TBR for so long. It's one of my mum's favourite books. She's recommended it to me for a long time. She gave me another Mary Lawson book to read a few years ago, which I absolutely adored. So sad, she's a very sad writer. Anyway, so the recommendation from my mum kind of fits because the prompt that I had yesterday was the mum of the family. So I started reading Crow Lake in bed last night. I'm only about 30 something pages in and it's already so sad. She is cutting to the chase, she's not holding back. Something really, really sad has happened to this family, like right out the gate. So who knows how I'm going to cope with this one, but I think it's going to be brilliant. She is a lovely writer. I wanted to answer another question. I got lots of questions about my sister, about Sophie. How is she doing? So again, Sophie's doing great, and very, very excitingly, Sophie is getting married. So she's getting married next year, so the family are in like wedding planning mode at the moment. Really exciting. She's chosen her dress. She looks absolutely stunning. So that's our happy family news. I got to the frozen lake scene, so I now feel justified in choosing this book. They go out on a frozen lake. The ice cracks. This is not a spoiler, it's very early on and also a very small story, but oh dear, it doesn't end well. No one dies though, I don't think. Careful on the ice, Melinda. I just finished this book. 5 stars. Oh my goodness, starting strong. That was such a good book. That was such a good book. That was so emotional. I feel I don't know, I'm not even ready to talk to you. I don't know why I'm trying to talk to you right now. I'm kind of in awe. It was a really, really emotional book the whole way through. Sad things happened right from the beginning. The whole way through I was thinking, I love these characters so much. I care so much about all of them. The 4 siblings, so the main character is Kate, who's the 3rd sibling, but all 4 siblings, I cared about them so much. And then I got to the end. Then I got to the final chapter and there's this like, it's not a twist, that's the wrong way of describing it. It's not a plot twist, it's an emotion shift. So there's suddenly a conversation that happens that puts everything in perspective and makes you realise I have been reading this book wrong. I've been thinking about this book wrong. But I've been, you know, that's what Mary Lawson wanted me to do. She's led me down this path. That's what the main character has been doing. She's been thinking about it in a certain way, and then there's this conversation which puts everything in a new perspective. And then you look back on the book and then it's so sad, but for a completely different reason than the reason I thought it was sad. Oh my goodness, that is so good. My mom has been telling me to read this book for years and I can't believe that I didn't until just now. That is so good. I'm so happy to have started with a 5-star read, which actually reminds me, that was one of the other questions I got. A lot of people asked me what have my top books of the year been, to talk about my 5-star books that I've read since last making a video. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go through 2024, my favourite books that I've read. Starting in January, I read Wellness by Nathan Hill, which I adored. It's a really long book and it's essentially the story of a marriage. So you go through years in the life of this couple from when they meet to later on in their marriage when it's sort of falling apart, not working as well. But it's also about so much more than that. This is my first Nathan Hill that I've read and I now really want to read more by him because it's actually such a sweeping novel, not just in terms of the time period, but in terms of the topics. So he puts in so many interesting things. So suddenly you're having a chapter that is all about Facebook, and suddenly you're having a chapter that's all about art, And all of this stuff comes in. I felt like I was constantly learning, and I absolutely loved it. It was also a book about making you think differently about maybe what love is. So that started off the year great. In April, I read Hello Beautiful, which I absolutely adored. That was a book that actually made me cry, which doesn't happen often with books, but like proper tears. It's about sisters. I love books about sisters, as you know. And interestingly, I read this one with my book club, with my uni friends, and we were divided into people who gave it like 5 stars and people who didn't like it as much. And the pattern was that people who gave it 5 stars all had sisters, and people who didn't like it as much didn't have sisters. So I think it's very much a sister book. But it's about this whole family, and again, it's my favorite kind of book. Family goes through the years, all the ups and downs of their lives. You're going to want to scream at the page because they make bad decisions. It's very, very loosely Little Women inspired, which is really fun. And actually, funnily enough, even though it is a book about sisters, some of the best characters in it are men in their lives. So the father of the family is an amazing character, and the husband of one of them is an amazing character. So lots of amazing characters. In June, I read 2 5-star books back to back, which are actually really similar. So the first one was The Versions of Us by Laura Barnett, and the second one was The Husbands by Holly Gramizio. Is that her name? And both of them are about kind of parallel lives in a way. So The Versions of Us takes 3 versions of a story. So this couple meeting this one day, it's in the 1950s, I think, where it starts, and they meet at university, and then there's 3 versions of how that meeting could go, and then the book follows all 3 versions, a bit like Sliding Doors. But it's not what I thought it was going to be from that. I kind of assumed it was going to be 3 different ways that 3 different versions of their love story maybe, but it's more than that, and it's more emotional than that. And then I'll come back to that one in a second because I want to talk about them together as a pair. The Husbands is much more lighthearted. So this one is about a woman who comes home drunk from a hen night, and there's a man in her house, and she like screams, but then she realizes, she looks around her flat and things are a bit different, and she realizes that this man is her husband, and she's gone into a parallel universe where she is married to this man. And then she realizes that anytime a man goes up into the attic, they come down as a different man, and then her life changes. So she's constantly like jumping between parallel versions of her life where she's married to these different men. And she's like constantly, you know, like swiping through them as if it was Tinder, but by sending them up into the attic. So that one was really good fun. So very different. I gave them both 5 stars. I absolutely loved both of them. They were both such interesting ways of taking that parallel universe concept. But I would say the main difference is that The Versions of Us is kind of saying that there are so many different ways that your life could go, and that all of them will be really sad. That all of them will be hard. And The Husbands is kind of saying there's so many different ways that your life will go, and all of them will probably be okay. So it's slightly different, but I loved both of them. Another book I read in June was The Lantern of Lost Memories. So that one was translated from Japanese, and it's set in the afterlife basically. So it's a world where after you die, you wake up in this photography studio and you can look through photographs from your life and choose one in particular to revisit. And so it's a novel, but it's kind of interconnected short stories about all these different people and the memories that they choose. But then they kind of link together in a really clever way, and it's also very emotional. All of my favourite books, very emotional. In July, I read The Ministry of Time. That was so much fun. I love a time travel book. This one is about a woman whose job is to be a bridge. So basically, time travel exists, the government have invented time travel, and they have brought people from the past into our present day, and they've appointed people to be a bridge to kind of guide them around and get them used to the present day and teach them everything they need to know. So I loved this book because this is genuinely a thing that I do. When I'm walking around by myself, it's like walking around running errands, I amuse myself by pretending in my head, is this weird? Should I admit this? I pretend in my head that I am showing someone from the past around. So I'll just be like walking down the road, but as cars go past, I like look at the cars and imagine what they would look like if you were from like the 1800s, and how I would try and explain what a car is to this person. So this is just like a little game that I play with myself, but that's the book, that's her job. And of course she falls in love with him, the one that she gets given, and he's based on a real character. And I had the hardback book, and it's got like end pages that has that have real drawings drawn by the real person. So I felt like I got really excited and wanted to look up loads of stuff about history. But it's just a really fun time travel book that then gets quite exciting. There's a whole sort of conspiracy. It got quite confusing. I'm not actually sure I totally understood what happened at the end, but I didn't really mind because I was having a wild ride. In October, I read Same as It Ever Was by Claire Lombardo. So I'd previously given 5 stars to The Most Fun We Ever Had, which was her last book. And that was one of the last books I think that I actually reviewed on Drinking by My Shelf. So I've read another one, and also 5 stars. It took a little while for me to warm up to this one. So The Most Fun I Ever Had, I just absolutely loved it the whole way through. Whereas this one, I was really enjoying it, but I didn't think it was as warm somehow. So it's about a main character who is quite cold. It's about a woman, and she's got 2 children and a husband, and we meet her in present day, but we do a lot of jumping back to when her little boy was young. And the book's sort of divided into sections, so once you get further into the book, you actually start diving back further in time. So you're really getting a picture piece together of her life. And the more the book went on, the more I liked her. Because at first I'd found I just wasn't really warming to her as a character. But anyway, she makes some really terrible decisions. And then the more you get to know her, the more you get to understand what brought her to make these terrible decisions and really, really care about her. So it probably wasn't quite The Most Fun I Ever Had levels of adoration from me, but actually by the time I got to the end, I found it probably even more emotional maybe, because I'd sort of been on that journey. In November, I read a very interesting book called Shark Heart. This is about a woman whose husband turns into a great white shark. So I bought this book last year in Portland. I went on holiday to Portland and bought it in a little bookshop by the sea. And anyway, it's nuts, but it was great. It's very much just a book about grief and about running out of time with someone and grieving somebody who is still there. So it feels like a very metaphorical book, but he really does turn into an actual great white shark. And the book is set in a universe where this happens. So there are other people she meets who are transforming into animals. And then again, we get to dive back into her past and hear her story, and it's really sad. Told you, they all have something in common. All the books I love are really, really sad. Anyway, if you want something a little bit batshit, but hard recommend. And then finally, the most recent top favourite read of the year for me, I also read in November, was The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. I'm a little bit late with this one. This felt like it was quite a big book a few years ago. Like everyone read this a few years ago, and I finally got round to it, and I can see why people loved it. It was great. So it's about a family. It's about a brother and a sister whose father remarries, so their mother had left. You find out more about that as the book goes on, but he remarries and then he dies not long after, and it's about what happens to these children, and again goes through their whole lives and shows how what happened to them when they were children affects them through their whole lives. And the sister is such an interesting character in it because she's so lovable at the beginning and then becomes quite obsessed, I guess, with this thing that happened to her, and it changes her. And anyway, really interesting character. Loved the books. There you go, there's all my books. They all have, or most of them have something in common, which is that they're very sad and that they span a long period of time in people's lives, and we learn about how people's lives affect them. Because turns out that's my favourite thing to read about. And that also would apply to Crow Lake by Mary Lawson, which I just read. So I have to leave the house. I'm actually late. I was supposed to leave the house, I would say, half an hour ago. But I might as well open the advent calendar, get the next prompt. So weird thing, from the 2 advent calendars that I'm not using for my prompt today, they both have the same thing in them. So the Playmobil Bakery had a tray of gingerbread men, and then my other advent calendar had a gingerbread man in it. So let's see, this is the one I'm actually using for my prompt today. Let's see if it has a gingerbread man or something else. It's Carol Singers. It's a no-brainer. I'm going to read Carol, also known as The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith. So I started Carol yesterday. I've only read the first chapter so far, but it is not what I expected. So I've seen the film Carol, and I don't remember this scene happening, but there's just like a very strange opening scene where she goes home with this woman from work for dinner, but then ends up like freaking out and getting into bed. So I guess it's setting up some stuff, and it was a very strange chapter. I don't think that happened in the film. So I finished Carol. I've been reading that for quite a few days. I did get a little stuck on it. I wasn't loving it at the beginning. I already checked in with you after the first chapter, which was weird. And then you meet Carol, and it kind of kicked in more what I remember from the film. It's been a long time since I saw the film, and I didn't remember it that well. But I wasn't loving it because both of the characters are quite serious and quite cold. And so I would have preferred a kind of warmer romance, and this just felt like sort of sad, serious people being sad and serious near each other. And I understand that it's also very much about the time period that the book is written and set in, that they can't be that open. And so that does kind of explain some of their interactions, but I just didn't particularly warm to either of the characters. So I wasn't loving the book. However, I have just spent, today has been stressful. We have a massive storm going on at the moment here, and so I was on the Isle of Wight over the weekend, and loads of the ferries were cancelled. Like, all of the ferries were cancelled on Saturday. There are a few running today, which is Sunday, and we were trying to get back in time to go to Arsenal Villa women's football game. And we made it in time for the second half, but after spending a lot longer, like an hour and a half longer on the train than we thought we were going to, and having to switch trains a lot. Like, the trains kept getting stuck and we kept getting kicked off. We'd have to wait around for a while, get onto another train. So it was a bit annoying, but it meant I got a lot of reading time, and I actually got really into it because Carol is a love story between a young woman, kind of, I think she's 20 at the beginning of the book, or even 19, who meets an older woman in her 30s and is kind of instantly overwhelmed by her feelings for this woman. She didn't know that she could have feelings like that for a woman before, and they begin this love story. So the second half of the book was more interesting to me because at that point the two characters, the love story has become more explicit between them, and they go on this trip, and then the stakes get really high because Carol, who's the older woman, is going through a divorce and a custody battle, and they realise that her ex-husband has sent a detective to follow them, and so the second half just felt like it had more peril, and really hard decisions that they had to make. And so it's very sad to think that people would have had to go through things like that because of how sort of terrible and unnatural and perverse it was seen to be in a same-sex relationship, and that you wouldn't be a fit parent. So I found the second half of the book, I was much more gripped by it. I don't want to give any spoilers about what happens at the end, but I will say that this book was quite groundbreaking in the way that that story wraps up for its time. So that's pretty cool. So it's hard to know how to rate it because I wasn't loving the book while reading it, but I did get more into it, and I am really glad that I read it. I'm really glad that it exists, and I feel like even though I didn't love the experience of reading it, that it will stay with me, and I'll kind of look back on it as if it was a 4-star read, even though probably while reading it, it was more like a 3-star read. So maybe I should be generous and just give it that 4 stars now, because I know I'm going to look back on it with that later. And before you ask, I don't do 0.5 stars. I just don't do it. It complicates things. So while I'm mulling over whether this one is a 3 or a 4 star, I'll answer another question. Some people asked me, I had quite a few questions about Taylor Swift and whether I've been to the Eras tour, and yes, I have, and I loved it. It was amazing. I went on the first London night, so my surprise songs were Death by a Thousand Cuts, which is one of my favourites, mashed up with Hits Different, which is a song I absolutely loved, and when it wasn't on Spotify, I was like constantly streaming it on YouTube, so that was very, very exciting. And then our second surprise song was a mega mashup. We got The Black Dog, appropriate because we're in London. We got Come Back Be Here, which is a song that Raf and I have like a special connection with, so that was exciting. And we got Maroon. She loves to mash up Maroon with lots of things, as we know. I went with Raf and my sister and my friend Tom, and we just had the best fun. I'll put in a little clip of us enjoying ourselves at the Eras tour. We can't make any promises now, can we, babe? She can make me a trick. 1, 2, 3, let's go, bitch! We actually loved it so much that Raf instantly when he came out was like, let's go again. Whatever it costs, let's just buy tickets for another night. And get this, I had to be the sensible one and talk her down from spending ridiculous amounts of money on going to it again, which I slightly regret because it would have been so much fun to go again. But those prices, man, they were through the roof. So looking to my next read, I didn't film myself opening my advent calendar this morning because I didn't realise I was going to have so much reading time today, so I didn't realise I was going to finish the book. But the advent calendar that I had chosen was going to be the next one I had to pick from. The picture this morning was of a bell. So I'm having a think about what to read for the word bell. I decided to be harsh and I gave Carol a 3. It was a 3-star book for me while I was reading it. My experience was a 3-star experience. I'm so sorry. I might change my mind. So I found the perfect book for the word bell, which is Bellies. And I'm already pretty much halfway through, and I'm really loving it. This is the story of, it kind of goes between the two perspectives of two people, Tom and Ming, who meet at university and fall in love. And then Ming announces that she wants to transition to be a woman, and it's about how their relationship is kind of navigating that, because Tom had only relatively recently come out as gay, and so obviously that's making him have to kind of re-evaluate things for himself. But actually I think my favorite chapters are from Ming's perspective, because Ming is such an interesting character. I'm really liking both. I think it's a great book, so speeding through this one. Bellies. Also, look at that naughty cover. So naughty. Let me tell you more about Bellies while I get ready for my work Christmas party, which is tonight. So I am about this far through, it's about somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4, and I am still really loving this book. So I was actually speaking last night to one of my colleagues about this book because he's read it and loved it as well. And what he said really rang true with me. So he said that this book is to him what he sees Sally Rooney's books as being to other people, and I really agree with that, because I'm also not a Sally Rooney girly. What I think I see people loving about Sally Rooney's books is the writing, obviously, but also the messy relationships and the characters who do things wrong, and the way that affects their romantic relationships and their friendships, and all of that is in Bellies, but in a way that is resonating better with me. I love the friendships represented in this book. Tom has a sort of childhood best friend who's a big character, and I honestly think that this relationship might be the big love story of the book, not in a romantic way, just that their friendship is gorgeous to read about. So I have known what I wanted to wear for the Christmas party for a while, but I've never actually gone and checked that I know where it is. It turns out I don't. It's not in my cupboard. This is very distressing to me because I didn't make a backup plan. I mean, all of my stuff is squished in there pretty tightly, but I have now checked it 3 times. Okay. So I've pulled everything out of my wardrobe, and Hippo, you're right in the way, honey. And it's just like genuinely not in there. So this is fine. Nobody panic. I don't have quite enough storage space. So I do keep some of my clothes under the bed. So there's a chance that it is packed under here. Moment of truth. Oh my goodness. Praise the Lord. I found it. Thank goodness. I was getting worried. I mean, it wasn't going to be a disaster because, to be honest, it is a fancy dress party, which for my American viewers does not mean fancy, like putting your fancy stuff. It means a costume party. We call it a fancy dress party. It's just a fun little whimsical thing about us. So it's a fancy dress party, and the theme is icons, and you go in your team. And so my team are dressing as, again, this is something that's going to mean nothing to any people outside the UK, but we are dressing as we have like a uniform, like a job that would wear this costume, and it's quite iconic. Like when you see these people around the place, it's like you instantly know what it is. You're like, iconic. And if you're someone like me, this is a service that I use quite a lot. It's my clothes. You'll see me when I put it on. But basically it's a jacket. I'm going to put a jacket over the top, so it doesn't like hugely matter what I wear. But anyway, I found it, so it's fine. It's a shame I didn't get it out from under the bed slightly sooner, because it is very, very wrinkly, and I do not do ironing. I'm not that kind of gal. But it'll do. Like I said, wearing something over the top, a little bit of dark room. Wearing my drinking necklace. This was a free gift from Anna Louisa back in the day when I would be sponsored by them. I genuinely wear it all the time. As you can probably tell from how uncertain I look right now, I have not used any heat hairstyling tools at all in like at least a year. Like not even a hairdryer. I've been air drying my hair now that I don't have to be on camera. Now that I don't have to be on camera all the time, I have not been making an effort. And it means that I've forgotten what I'm doing with this. What is this? Okay, I'm ready to go. Here I am, finished product with my iconic jacket. Are you ready? Hot to go. If you're not from the UK, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but this is a Deliveroo jacket. Anytime I get Taco Bell delivered straight to my front door, it's from someone wearing one of these babies. I kept reading Bellies on the train on the way to my Christmas party and something really sad happened. Like really sad. I was not expecting it at all. It was like the worst thing that could have happened. I'm really nearly finished. I'm loving this book. My advent calendar has done so well this year. The last few years I feel like my advent calendar has been quite hit and miss at giving me books, but we might be on track for a second 5-star. Something really interesting that I wanted to talk about in this one, the sad thing, which I won't tell you what it was, is just how much this book is making me think and how clever it is, and how I feel like this is a book that I wish lots of people would read, people who wouldn't like generally think that they would want to read a book about this topic, because I just feel like it'd be useful for them. So it's like a tiny little interesting thing that I wanted to bring up happened was a conversation between a side character talking about his own kind of confused feelings. So this is a straight cis man talking about matching with a few trans women on apps and trying to decide whether or not he wanted to go on those dates, because he kind of understood, he's like very, very close friends with the trans character, so he has a good understanding of how hurtful and invasive it could be for him to ask questions, like too many personal questions, especially up front, especially like anatomical questions. So he definitely didn't want to go there, but he also wasn't quite sure about whether that like mattered to him on a date. And anyway, the reason I wanted to talk about that was because it was so good to have that conversation in there and treated like that, that it's okay to be a bit confused and not have all the answers. Because I think what happens, I think a lot of the hatefulness that comes in transphobia is because people don't like being confused, and when people don't understand something, they assume that the problem must be with the thing that they don't understand, and that thing is out to get them, and that it is targeting them because they don't understand it, and therefore it is bad and they hate it. And I really liked in here, it was just this character was able to admit, I don't really know. I don't know the answers. I don't totally understand how I would feel about this, and that's okay. And that there can be this kind of contradiction in, maybe this is something that matters to me, but I understand how it could be hurtful for this to matter to me, so I'm not quite sure where to go with it, so I'm just going to leave that for now while I figure it out, rather than having to try and come to a conclusion, because usually when people try and rush to a conclusion, what can happen is they can reach quite a hateful conclusion, because they just want to push through and kind of fast track to get to somewhere that they understand. So anyway, I think that's really cool, and I would like people to read this and kind of get the understanding of, oh, okay, it's okay to be a little bit confused, it's okay to not have all the answers, to not know how this fits with me and my personal preferences, because the answer is it doesn't really have anything to do with you. Other people can live their lives and you can live your life, and that's fine. And it just kind of made that clear. I finished Bellies in bed last night. It was really good. That's another 5-star read. I mean, Crow Lake, I'm not sure I'm going to read a book that I love as much as Crow Lake in a long time, so that was like in a special level of its own. But Bellies, really, really strong, great 5-star book. So I'm having a really great success with my advent calendar this year. It seems to be working, my new system. I'm going to do just one more of these in this video, because I am, so let's answer another question. Another question that I got asked was, what am I doing for Christmas this year? And let me tell you, I'm going to Australia. I've never been to Australia before. I think I'm gonna probably die. I'm probably gonna get eaten by a shark or a spider. And also I'm gonna have a hot Christmas, which just feels all wrong and confusing. So it's a new adventure, but I'm very excited. I'm leaving on Monday. Today when I'm filming this is Friday. So I haven't started packing yet. I need to do a lot of packing over the weekend. And one of the things I obviously need to pack is books. So I have a whole idea. I'm not gonna go into it right now because I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm formulating an idea of how to use the rest of my advent calendars to decide what to pack for Australia, because obviously I can't fit that whole trolley on the plane with me. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We are going to do that. At the end of this video, you will watch me choose my TBR to bring to Australia. But firstly, let's pick just one more book. We've gone full circle. I've gone through all 3 of my advent calendars, so we're coming back to my Playmobil one. Okay, look. I don't know what the fuck this is. What is this? What is that? How am I supposed to pick a book? What is that? Nope, doesn't go there. I'm at such a loss. Okay, I decided it did go into that hole, so I've shoved it in there. Is it a lantern? I guess it's like a lantern? What are you? Wait, this is actually too perfect. So if it's a lantern, which we could also call a light, I have a book here called The Light Years. I've been meaning to read this for a while. We published this. This is a whole series. We published them at work. They're like lots of people's favorite series. I've never read them. I've been wanting to for a while. Raf started this book last night. So if I start it now as well, we can buddy read it. That's so perfect. Wow, Playmobil, I thought you were being really weird, but you actually knew exactly what I needed. Hey, what do you think? You excited to read The Light Years? I started The Light Years in bed last night. I haven't got very far yet. I really only read about 30 pages, but I think I'm going to really like it. This is, as I said, this first book in a series. The series is called The Cazalet Chronicles. Or Cazalet, who knows? It's about a family called the Cazalets or the Cazalets. And this is the first one. It's set in the 30s and they're a very posh family, as you can tell. They live in this kind of nice house. And so I'm starting to meet the different characters. It's a big cast, has a big family tree at the beginning and a big cast of characters. And it's kind of all the members of this family and then also all of the people that work at the house. Here's a nice little family tree, so that's very helpful. So I think once I finally got my head around who all the characters are, I'm going to really enjoy it. And what I've heard about this book and this series is that it's kind of, on the one hand, very lovely, you know, rich family in their beautiful house, in their beautiful garden, living nice lives, but also that it gets really dark and goes to some quite dark storylines. And also as the series goes on, we go through, it spans a lot of time, so we go through very different periods in history. So this is all set before the Second World War, but after the First World War, so we already have some characters who are impacted by that. And then we're going to kind of move into the war and beyond the war, so I'm very excited. But I am going to bring this video to a close. This is going to be part 1. I'm going to do a part 2 of this video. I just really wanted to get this up this side of Christmas before I go away to Australia. And I need to start packing which books I'm going to bring to Australia, which is a very, very important decision. And I obviously can't bring all of my advent calendars to Australia, especially the Playmobil one. That would be a waste of suitcase space. So we're going to play a game to choose my TBR. This is book number 1. This is going to come with me on the plane. I should get a big chunk of it done. We have 24 hours on the plane. But how the rest of this game is going to work, it's, as you know, I have 3 advent calendars. My Playmobil one, my regular picture one, the bigger one, and then I have a little mini picture one. I am going to bring the little mini picture one. That was what my mum gave me. I'm going to bring that to Australia. She deliberately got me a little mini one that can travel with me in my suitcase. So when I get to Australia, I'm going to continue playing this game and just using that little calendar to dictate what I have to read every time I need a new book. But we're going to use, I'm going to open the rest of my advent calendars now. Is that bad luck before Christmas? I don't know. But seeing as I can't open them later, it's what we're going to do. And we're going to use them to dictate which books I bring to Australia in the first place. You following me? So that when I play the game in the second half of the video, which I will post next year with everything that I read in Australia, I can choose basically from the list of books that I bring with me. Or I will bring my Kindle, so I'll still have a big selection of books. But the physical books I bring with me will not be this whole trolley. I'm going to say I'm going to bring 5. I'm going for 3 weeks. Just under 3 weeks, but if you include the long plane journey each time, it's basically 3 weeks. So I'm going to bring 5 physical books plus a Kindle. So to determine which physical books I'm going to bring with me, I'm going to open all of the windows remaining on my advent calendars. Every time I open one, I can choose either to choose a book from that prompt, and then that is firmly in my TBR and cannot be removed, or pass and go on to something else, but if I pass, I can never go back and do it. So if I got all the way down and I'd only picked 3 books so far, I need 2 more, and so the final 2 windows I would have to use whether or not I like those prompts. You see what I mean? So it's like there's no backsies, there's no corrections. I have to make a decision to either pick a book or not pick a book from every window. I think that's going to make sense. It's going to make sense as we do it. And I'm going to start with my plain bowl one because I'm already sitting here right next to it. So we're in the right spot. Each advent calendar has 10 windows left. So it's got 20 windows to open in total, and only 5 of them will be chosen as books. Starting day 15. We have some more mysterious stuff that I don't know what it is. So I have these funny little heart-shaped objects. Why is this the most complicated advent calendar in the world? There's some elastic things that hook in so that I hang the hearts like they're a little decoration. Like, what do we think that is? It's just a little heart on a stick. In the picture, so I have a picture on the front here of the finished product, and some of these decorations are just being worn around people's necks, and I can't see one on the stick. So I really have no idea what this is. This advent calendar is so weird. So basically I think that prompt is heart. I am gonna say pass on that prompt, which I may regret because actually heart is probably quite an easy one to do compared to who knows what else I'm gonna find in here. Because I don't really know what it is. I don't know whether I should be doing heart or necklace or bauble or decoration. So we're gonna pass. We're gonna go to the next one. 16 is my lucky number. Let's hope this is a good one. Oh my goodness. It's a crow! Ah, why is there a crow? Really funny that I got crow because I already read Crow Lake. I should have read Tom Lake for the lake prompt, and then I could have read Crow Lake for the crow prompt, but I already read Crow Lake and I have a crow. That is so funny. I can't believe it's a crow. I think I have to pass because I already read Crow Lake, but I actually feel sad that I don't have Crow Lake ahead of me. And if I'd read Tom Lake earlier, I could now be bringing Crow Lake to Australia. Which would have been perfect because the copy that I read, so the paperback version of it that's in this house, actually belonged originally to Raf's sister-in-law, who we're going to visit in Australia. So I could have brought it and then returned it. Okay, so far nothing has been chosen. Oh my god, I have more weird stuff. What is this? This is some kind of decoration. So we have on here a star and a moon and a tree. They're candles. Okay, so this is a candle decoration. I don't have anything about candles. This game is harder than I thought. This is a birdhouse. Surely I can do something with the birdhouse. Look at that. It's where my crow can sit. That's cute, right? A little birdhouse. And it's on a pile of snow. Okay, onwards. Window 19. It's more birds. Honestly, this thing is obsessed with birds. Well, this hangs off the bird's house. And then birds come and peck at it. What? This little thing is going to hang off the bird's house. And it's got little birds on it. And then there's other free birds roaming around. I can put a bird on the roof. This bird has to go somewhere else. Okay, here is my completed bird's house. There's lots of birds on the cover of Washington Black, which is a book I actually don't really know very much about at all. There's lots of birds on the front of The Boy from the Sea, which is a proof I have. There's actually lots of birds on the front of lots of books. I've been wanting to pick up The Boy from the Sea, and this comes out early next year, so this feels like a good time. I'm going to bring The Boy from the Sea because of all the birds. I'm making decisions. It's happening. Okay, window 20. Finally, we have the little girl. I was wondering when she'd appear. If I remember correctly, this little lady is named Gwen. Get your skates on, Gwen. Look at her, pretty in pink. Shall I bring a pink book? This book is very pink, and I've been wanting to read Bunny for so long. This had a big booktube moment, and then it had a big book talk moment, and I've still never read it. Window 21. What the actual fuck is that? Okay, I've assembled them. This is cute. So these are little, like, is it people selling like nuts? Is that chestnuts roasting by an open fire? It's something. I don't think I have anything about nuts. So, on to the next. Just a piece of cardboard, but it's gonna be a present. Oh, this is so beyond my spatial awareness skills. This is like origami. Oh my god, I did it. It's a present! A beautifully wrapped present. I know exactly what to bring for this. I'm going to bring a book that I got as a present. So Raph actually got me this book 2 years ago when she last went to Australia for Christmas. I didn't go that time, and she brought me back this book as a present because it's set in Australia. So now I can read it in Australia. That is perfect. Okay, we have a little chalkboard. Wow, I did that so badly. I stuck that on absolutely terribly. But there we go. We have a cute little board saying Merry Christmas that sits at the side of the ice rink. I don't think I need to pick a book for that one. And then I actually feel like I know what's going to be in the final window because it's going to be the same as last year. I think it's going to be the Christmas tree. Yay! Ta-da! It's a Christmas tree! So here is the finished scene. It's very cute. I still never figured out what this thing is for, where it goes. So, I don't know. But Merry Christmas from my little ice skating family. Which means I have 2 spaces left. So, going all the way back to day 15, where we have 2 little boys throwing snowballs. Very cute. I don't have a book for you. Lucky number 16. We have more ice skating. We have more ice skating. Well, you know what? Been there, done that. We don't need more ice skating. Very cute though. Picture number 17. Hi, Hippo. She's just like dancing on my feet. Hey, honey. Where's 17? Is this a trick? There it is. It's got a horse and a dog and a baby. It's some parents by a horse with a dog and a baby. Horse, dog, baby. I could bring the book called The Happy Couple because they look like a very happy couple with their horse and their dog and their baby. Ooh. No, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to risk it. Number 18. Okay. This is a bunch of children. I guess they're siblings. They have a little dog. They're on a sled. Oh, I know what they are. They are, and this actually could have worked for the one before as well. They are a beautiful family. And you know what I've got? I have a proof called A Beautiful Family. It's set in the summer in New Zealand, and I'm about to be in the summer in Australia, which is close enough. So this is perfect. This is I've kind of forgotten until that moment that I'm about to be in the summer. How weird is that? One more book to pick. Will it be behind window 19? Well, we have some stockings. I don't know that I would have anything for stockings. Picture number 20. God, we're getting close to the wire. Is more ice skating. Okay, look, this calendar loves ice skating. That's fine. That's cute. It's also a beautiful family. Every window is telling me to read A Beautiful Family. Okay, you're going to give me something else. You're going to give me something else behind window 21, which is 2 dogs. Dogs. Okay, I've been looking. I just don't think I have books about dogs. Window 22 is another sled. There's not a ton of variety in this one. So this is a boy pulling his siblings on a sled. Once again, it is a beautiful family. We're keeping on going. Window 23. So cute. It's the reindeer flying over the moon. I don't have a book for that, but it's really nice. I mean, moon. I'm sure I have moon. What about the night watch? Because the reindeer are kind of the night watch. Anyway, they're on duty overnight, and they gotta look out for flying planes and stuff. I don't have anything called moon. I definitely don't have anything called reindeer. So I could bring the night watch to fill the prompt of the reindeer, or I could open the final window, but then whatever is behind the final window has to be my prompt. No excuses. I hate this kind of decision. But you know what I love? Gambling. So let's gamble. The final window, number 24, is... it's Father Christmas. He has a little sign that says Nicholas. He's with an elf, and he's making a rocking horse. So I think I could read a book by someone called Nicholas. I don't know if I have one, but that would work. Okay, I'm glad I did that. I like this prompt, and I've come up with 2 options I need to decide between. So, the Nicks for Old Saint Nick. Nicks, okay, maybe a little tenuous, but I think that's kind of fun. Or the Sanctuary. So this is not by someone called Nicholas. However, this was a present given to me by my father, who is called Nicholas. So in some ways, he is St. Nicholas, and he gave me this as a present. You see? You see? I don't know which one of those. I mean, I kind of feel like this is the better link, I think, right? That's kind of fun. And then my dad gets to be Santa. Yeah, okay, decision made. The Sanctuary is my final pick. This is a thriller. Okay, let's go through what my TBR is. We have 5 paperback books to come to Australia with me. We have A Proof, The Boy from the Sea, which is literary fiction about a little boy in a small town. There is Bunny, which I know very little about, other than that it's a sort of TikTok weird favourite, set at a university, I think. We have The Harp in the South, which is an Australian classic. Don't know what it's about. We have A Beautiful Family, which is set in New Zealand and is about family secrets and all my favourite kind of stuff. And we have The Sanctuary, which is a thriller set on a remote island. So I think that's a pretty fun mix of books to bring with me to Australia. And what's funny is that because I'm going to keep playing the Advent Calendar game when I get there, I could end up reading absolutely none of those books. So let's find out. I will stop the video now. I will finish packing. I'll get ready. I will fly for 24 hours to the other side of the world. And I will see you when I'm back and tell you about everything that I read in Australia. See you then.